Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. You're listening to the Fukei Hangout Extra, and today we're talking about Babymetal. Yes, last month Babymetal were on tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, supporting them in their dates across the UK, including London, Glasgow, Birmingham, Manchester, and then back to London for an encore the day before Sue Metal's birthday at the O2 Arena. Today we're going to talk a little bit about those shows, predominantly the one in Glasgow, which I attended, and then we'll talk a little bit about the band in general, what they've been up to 2016, and thoughts about moving forward. So here we go. I was lucky enough to go to the gig in Glasgow, which was, I believe, the third night, because there were two in London initially before they came to Glasgow. So I didn't take part of the big queuing. I've gotten a bit older now for standing out in the cold, so I turned up a little bit later on, got some merch. There was a good selection of stuff on the go. There's sort of three main t-shirts. The hat was there. The live CD was there as well, which did tempt me, but I'd already pre-ordered that on iTunes, so I decided not to bother, and turns out there wasn't much to it bar the CD, so that's not so bad. But I did get myself one of the t-shirts, which was quite cool, the kind of totem pole design with the dates on the back, which was my favourite of the three, so quite chuffed with that as well. In terms of the actual show, I was quite impressed. There's a lot of really good parts that were there that I was quite surprised about, actually, that I wasn't sure that I would get to see at just a support act gig. Although, even though they were surprising and I quite enjoyed it, there were some parts that I felt could have been improved as well, as much as it was really cool for me to see them. In particular, I'm thinking about they played Megitsune during their set, and they had the part for that. They went off and they came on with the sort of kimono style black and red robes, Sue Metal with the mask, the very classic sort of opening to that song, which I thought maybe it might have been cut out because it was obviously a shorter set for them supporting. But overall, the set was quite theatrical in the way that obviously Babymetal shows can be, which was quite cool to see them sort of maintain that level of theatricalness to the show. But there were times, considering they're playing to an audience that was majoritively obviously Red Hot Chili Pepper fans, a lot of people maybe not aware of Babymetal, not necessarily invested in the group, it could have perhaps been a little bit of a tighter set, focusing on the sort of the infectious energy that I think, really draws people into the band. The set in full that they played in Glasgow, they opened, of course, with Babymetal Death, which is sort of the classic opening. Again, this was very long for what was a very short set of only 6 songs. So perhaps maybe would have kicked off with something a little bit more punchy, with a little bit more kick to it, that might have served as a bit more of a bang, here we are intro. But obviously it is, classic Babymetal to open with Babymetal Death. They kind of introduce themselves, but sometimes perhaps again for a crowd that aren't necessarily as invested in the band, they maybe might not be able to quite pick up what they're saying, because that song is pretty much carnage when it comes to the riff, the guitar, the drum, the bass. Everything is so heavy on that track that sometimes, particularly Mo and Yui, but Sue as well, as it's more of a spoken intro, sometimes they can get a little bit lost. But obviously a classic intro. The lighting was really good for it, and I felt that the Hydro SSE Arena in Glasgow really suited the song as well, because it's a circular venue. It's quite encompassing and to a certain degree, and I felt it was it had that ominous Babymetal feeling to it. I'll just sort of run through the set as they played it. They went from Babymetal Death into Awadama Fever. So one of the great things about Babymetal is obviously the huge juxtaposition and change in genre that they can go through in a set. Something as brutal and heavy as Babymetal Death can go into this kind of literally bubblegum pop metal, sort of almost ska-ish type track. Amadama Fever has such a great beat to it, such a great rhythm to it, and it really offset, I think, the heavy and the brutal nature of Babymetal Death. And people, I could already see some of the people around me sort of thinking, wait a minute, this is totally different to what they've just done. So it was really interesting for them to put that together, and obviously for people to see that side of them. It's obviously a much cuter song. It's got a nice little dance routine to it as well, with the wee moves that they do during the chorus. So with that said, why don't we take a quick look at that? I only took the one quick video from the show, as I was obviously too busy rocking out, but I did get a little bit of Awa Dama fever. So yeah, let's have a wee look at that. So that was Awa Dama Fever. You see the crowd was still a little subdued at that point. You could see the hardcore Babymetal fans at the front there joining in with the dance move. But yes, people around me did start getting into things, I think, a little bit at Awa Dama Fever. I could hear mumblings, murmurings, what's going on here? And it was after this that things really kind of kicked into classic Babymetal sort of set layout as they started the run into Catch Me If You Can. So again, this started with the classic Kami solo. Each member got their moment in the spotlight. Always enjoy seeing this. Big fan of the Kami band, as I know many of you Fukei are, and Kitsune. But again, part of me kind of thought maybe it would have been an idea to have dropped this in favour of keeping things a bit tighter. But that said, if we did that too much, you would lose a little bit of the essence that is a Babymetal performance. So I think the main thing would be probably maybe to have switched out Babymetal Death with a slightly shorter, catchier track. And then you could have kept the Kami solo in to give everyone that opportunity to hear the virtuoso, aspect of the performers. Obviously, they were all really into it as ever, and the girls came bouncing back in as they do. This song also had a sing-along section, which was really good. Off the top of my head, I can't quite remember them doing this one all the time. I've said that they probably do, but for whatever reason, I was all like, "Oh wow, cool!" Sing-along section in Catch Me If You Can. One of the things that I thought was really good about this performance, it had a certain freeness, a certain level of fun to it, that I think continues to grow as Babymetal perform more and more, both at home and abroad, in a wide variety of settings. Su-metal in particular seems to be becoming more and more comfortable on stage, taking on different personas, taking on different crowds. And Moa and Yui, as always, are full of smiles and look like they're enjoying themselves. Sue continues to improve her English. She seemed again quite comfortable with more and more banter in between and during the songs when she's encouraging the crowd to join in and speaking at the end. Moa and Yui had some bits to say as well. They still sound a little bit like they've been practicing those singular lines in preparation, and I'm sure Sue is to a degree the same, but Sue really is beginning to get a lot more fluency and sort of naturality in her English. After the sing-along section of Catch Me If You Can, it went into what was probably my highlight of the evening in terms of Babymetal set, which was Megitsune. Every time I've heard it, I say every time I've heard it live, I've only heard it once live properly, but every time I've seen it live on videos and everything else, it always is a belting live track. It's so good. I think it's even better live than in the recorded version. It's arguably the best song on the first album, and they keep evolving the song, and as well as the band evolving, they're evolving the music, and they were adding extra English flares into Migutsune as well as some other parts of other songs during the whole tour. As they progressed through the song, they changed the sorry section to just being jump, which, obviously for the majority of the crowd, particularly at a non-Babymetal gig, really helped to kind of bring them in a little bit more and get them involved. And again, you could see people in the crowd sort of bouncing along at the appropriate sections. So, it's nice. It's little touches like that, I think, that can really help to, grab those extra little fans, and also help those that maybe aren't quite as drawn to the band immediately to sort of, enjoy themselves and get into what's going on. Because, for some people, the fact that all the songs are in Japanese will be a little bit of a barrier because they don't know what they're singing about, and I think little touches like that just help to pave over those cracks for those people, and help bring them into performance a little bit more. So it was nice to see that. After Megitsune, they moved into Karate. Karate obviously played it a little bit at the beginning there. The classic riff, arguably again the best riff that Babymetal have ever created, and arguably the best riff on the second album. Very popular song with a lot of people, both Babymetal fans and the wider sort of metal community as well. A lot of the people that have been on the fence, a lot of people that were not sure about the first album, people like Bees from the Not Metal podcast. Absolutely love this song. Think it's a belter, and that holds true and continues to hold true during the live performances. All the live performances of it have been really good, from the sort of AMA performance to Wembley to this to all the different ones that they've done. Every time I see this song live again, like Megitsune, I think it's a real belter with that that riff to chug through. As always, it had the sing-along part in it, which again is here or there. Sometimes I think it might be better just to focus on this track when you've got that shorter set, when you've got less time, and allow the track just to hit home and really do what it's there to do, which is, I think, in particular in this sort of phase of Babymetal, to really catch the audience. And as I say, if I was to make a criticism of this slot in Glasgow, and from what I've heard of some of the other slots, it would maybe have been to have maybe had dial slightly down on the extras. They're great to have, and I definitely don't want them to be gone. But when you've got that tighter set, when you've got less time, and you are there primarily to find new fans, to appeal to new people, when you're as a support act, I think it's important to have that tightness, to have that make the best of the time you have. But saying that with Babymetal, it's important that they do have those aspects. They do have that theatricality. They do have things like the Kami solo and Catch Me If You Can, which is such a big theatrical track in terms of the dance move, the story that the dance weaves along with the words. You can really get a grasp of what Catch Me If You Can is generally about from the dancing and the choreography that goes on there. So these things are important to Babymetal shows because they are part of what defines Babymetal against the rest of the crowd. But having had the sing-along in the Kami solo, having had a little bit in Megitsune, to then have another one in Karate, I think for some people, who weren't, there for Babymetal, perhaps it was beginning to wear slightly. But overall, still, belting track and a great listen. They finished the set, of course, with Gimme Choco. There's only one song they can't finish with. On a set like this, it's going to be that defining track, for a huge swath of people who are still, just kind of like, oh, that Japanese band, or, maybe not, just kind of not full-on fans there. That's still the main track for a lot of these people. So, I think Vanishing on that is a good one. It's got that catchiness. It's got that cuteness that they can really feed off. And again, I could see a lot of people that had kind of been bopping along before and just kind of wondering what's going on, have that little glimmer of recollection going, oh wait, yeah. So again, great way to finish things up for the set. I think the thing that I was most happy about was that, overall, those minor changes perhaps aside, I think it was a really successful support slot, and from the looks of it, it has been throughout the tour. As I say, although they maybe could have perhaps been a little bit tighter, the wee production flares, the costumes, Obviously, the dancing, the choreography, the interaction between them all was top notch. They seemed to really be at a point where they're on fire. Coming off of Tokyo Dome, and the success that they've had there, and of course the year in general. The set for me, certainly in the Glasgow one, just seemed to get better with each track. It really built on each other. The middle. The beginning you have that big intro, in the middle where you really see what Babymetal is about, and Catch Me If You Can with the Kami solos, the introduction, the choreography, and then, as I say, I think the ending was really strong. Mega Utsune into Karate and Gimme Chocolate, those two being those defining tracks. The crowd interaction was also really good. They really built as things went and improved. The crowd by the end, I think, really enjoyed the set as well, on the whole, which is really good to see. It fed in nicely to the Chili Peppers as well. The Chili Peppers, I'll just talk quickly about, had a really good night. There just seemed to be some sound issues going on, which I think affected them a little bit. A little timing issues in the first half, and you could see some of their frustration in the second half with the sound. But overall, really good. Really enjoyed Chad throwing sticks into the crowd, sort of mid-beat and mid-tune, which was fun. It was a high tempo performance. There's some typical sort of Scottish banter about haggis and their favourite Scottish band. Flea did most of the talking. Anthony maybe could have done a little bit more, but it was fine. And I really enjoyed it. I was a Chili's fan for quite a bit of sort of the late 90s, early 90s, so it was good to have got the opportunity to see them live and to hear some of the tracks as well that they played, which were sort of classic Chili stuff, as well as the new stuff, which was really good. I really enjoyed the new album as well. Overall, from what I've seen over the whole tour, it seems like, as I say, it was a very successful tour for both the Chili's and particularly for Babymetal, who have had these really good support slots, will hopefully have found some new fans, and broadened their audience, particularly in obviously being able to have gotten further north than just London, going to Manchester, going to Birmingham, and as I say, really beyond pleased that they were able to come up to Scotland as well. Will hopefully really have helped them. I feel as if a Scottish crowd will have gotten into them. And hopefully, they came away from that night with a lot of new fans. As I said, they seem to be really growing. 2016 was such a good year. So many highlights from April when the second album dropped, which was such a good album. And they've gone from strength to strength with each thing, setting records across various countries with the album sales, setting records at Wembley, great performances there. Obviously, the tour leading up to Tokyo Dome, which the 2 nights there seemed to have been phenomenally successful. Epic shows. The neck braces, the lit up were obviously amazing to see, and it must have been such a good show to have gone to as well. And also, they've had more interactions with other people. Obviously, there was the big AMA performance with Rob Halford, which was a resounding success, I think, and they carried that off into the Chili Peppers as well, where they did appear on stage with them at points during the tour, which is really good. You again could see, Sue Metal looked like she was having so much fun in the videos that I saw of them on stage with the Chili's, dancing around. She interacted with Flea a little bit, which is really good. Mo and Yui still seem a little bit lost without their choreography a little bit. Yui in particular, Moa dances around like a little mentalist, and is adorable to see. And Yui, but Yui tended to, I think, stand a little bit more, was slightly less, as I say, sure of herself without the sort of on-stage direction, which is perfectly understandable, I think, really, because ultimately their entire lives have been centred around choreographed performing. So, to have these opportunities to break out from that is a good challenge for them, and I think obviously will help them to grow. Sue Metal, while has had a similar position, I think in Babymetal from the get-go as the main vocalist, has had a little less choreography so that she can focus on those vocals, and therefore has maybe just allowed herself to develop a bit more in that respect. But it's great to see that they're all growing and becoming better performers, becoming a better version of Babymetal every time I see them, whether that's on videos or, they're getting the opportunity to see them live. And I hope that this continues off into 2017. Just thinking on that, 2017 is hopefully going to be a continuation of that. They're hopefully going to maybe tour some more, get to some of the places that, they've not had a chance to go to thus far. Shout out to Ivana, for example, in Australia, where I'm sure, you know, there's somewhere they could probably get enough fans together for a show, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. You know, who knows, we might see some new material in the year, and if they feel that they're not going to tour Metal Resistance much longer, but we'll have to see. 2016 has been a big year, so, you know, take the time to sit and think, you know, how they're going to build on that. And obviously, as a Kitsune, it's exciting to think about what might be coming next. Before I finish off, I need to give a shout out to Chad from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, their drummer, as he had a great little moment in the final London show. As I said earlier on, the London show was the day before Sue Metal's birthday, and they had some time. They performed the AMA tracks that they did, the Judas Priest tracks, Painkiller and Breaking the Law, which was really good. And Chad joined them drumming in those as well, which was great to see. You know, some more collaborations with established stars. But then at the end, came out with the cake. I'm sure many of you have seen the video. Came out with the cake for Sue Metal with some lit candles, and the crowd all sang happy birthday, and she looked absolutely ecstatic with it. That classic massive Sue Metal smile all over her face. So that was good to see. So shout out to Chad for that. So this was my sort of run-up of the Glasgow show and some general thoughts on Babymetal. I hope you have enjoyed listening to my ramblings. This is my first bonus video of 2017, and hopefully there will be some more. I'm planning some things through the coming months, so hopefully you guys will tune in for that. You have been listening to the Fukei Hangout Extra, so here's to more episodes, and we'll see you on the next Fukei Hangout. Thanks, guys. Bye.